Very often when your shoulder subluxes, it's actually pretty easy to get it to come back if we just do the right movement. So if we think about it when we're hypermobile, easy out, easy in. Now the first thing we're going to talk about is anterior subluxation, which is where the shoulder goes forwards. The most common direction for it to sublux is anterior, and that's because the ligamentous structures and the capsule of your shoulder is more lax in the front for everybody, hypermobile or not. On top of that, the world is forward. We tend to just be moving forward. For hypermobile people, can happen most often, like sleeping. If you're a side sleeper, the shoulder will round forward and might start to sublux a bit at night when you're sleeping. Or if we're driving, where our shoulders are forward, we're typing, everything is forward and it kind of starts to move that way. So our job to treat that is to help facilitate a posterior or backwards movement of the head of the humerus, that ball into the socket. The easiest way to do this is laying on your back. We're going to let gravity do the work for you. And you can grab a pillow if you want that to be comfortable. And then we just bring the hands right up over your shoulders. So once you're here, you might notice you're kind of naturally tensing your pecs and your neck, and things are lifted off the ground. So we're going to allow your shoulders to soften and get nice and heavy onto the floor. And you'll notice here how gravity now is helping move the head of my humerus posterior or down into the floor. Sometimes just getting into this position is all you need to do. You might notice a little bit of a click as it goes back into place, or you may just notice it, oh my gosh, it just feels so much better now that I'm supported on the ground. And then once you're there, that's really all you need to do. If it's still tense and you're not finding that release or that feeling of like, hey, I'm in a comfortable position, the next thing we can do is add some very gentle arm movements. Circles are a nice place to start because, again, we're just facilitating relaxation in and around the shoulder girdle so that gravity can do its job to move that head of the humerus posterior. So by doing some gentle movements might feel nice and calming to your muscles clockwise or counterclockwise. And we're trying to do this without shrugging your shoulders way up, without tensing your neck, because that's again going to pull things more forward. We want to get just some gentle movements to help that posterior glide. You want to try this for about a minute, maybe 2 at the most. And then once you're done, if you think you've gotten things back into place, you can retest it. Whatever movement was feeling icky or off, retest and see if it feels a little bit better. And if it does, then you're good to go. Now, if you need more options, the next one that we're going to do is use a little bit of a contraction. For this next one, we're going to use a very light band, and then get yourself set up again, laying on the ground. Once you're set up with the elbows in a comfortable angle, about 30-ish degrees away from your body, so they're not tucked in tight, they're in this neutral position. The elbow is supported here so that, again, you can notice my elbow is a little higher than my shoulder, so that's helping gravity with that posterior glide, again, just by being in this position. Then I'm going to take the band and then palms facing me. I'm going to do a tiniest little contraction of my posterior rotator cuff, so these deep muscles on the back half of the shoulder. So they're going to contract a little bit, and that again will help pull the head of the humerus posterior in the joint, just enough to get it back to where it wants to, where I need it to be. So I'm here, palms facing me, I'm holding the band, and then nice relaxed neck and shoulders. All I'm going to do is give a little gentle pull so that I feel those muscles in the back of the shoulder starting to kick in. You may even feel, as you do that little contraction, things shifting, just a slight little shift back into place. Pause and hold there for about 5 or 10 seconds, and then slowly let it relax. I choose between 5 and 10 based on tolerance. So essentially, if 5 felt like enough for you, just start with 5. If 5 feels pretty easy and you can tolerate 10 without any discomfort, go ahead and go a little longer. But there's no need to go longer if it's causing any discomfort. And then do that between 5 and 10 repetitions. And then after you've done that a few times, you can retest whatever that painful movement was. Usually it's reaching up where you notice like, ugh, something feels off. So that can be your retest. Hey, does that feel better? Yes, no. And then you know if that was successful. Then the last thing that works really well is doing closed chain things. So being in hands and knees. The first thing is just getting into this position. So hands under your shoulders, you could sit back on the heels. And by the way, you could also do this leaning against a countertop. I'm just going to put a little bit of weight into my arm. And now I've got my body working to help get that posterior glide. So just by getting in this position in hands and knees, maybe letting your chest relax forward just a little bit relative to your shoulders, you may feel a little bit of that glide backwards. Pause and hold there, continue to breathe, and then take a little break. Same thing with the band exercise, usually 5 to 10 seconds is more than enough. You get up there, have a little bit of strength into the arms, maybe allowing the chest to come forward a bit, so I'm gliding that humerus posterior. Now, once you've got it back into a comfortable position, we can advance that by working on the stability there, by then turning your toes under, and then any kind of plank version that we've ever worked on, coming up into like a bear pose or lifting up into a little bit of a down dog, sometimes helps get the muscles contracting around the entire shoulder to maintain it in that posterior position. Coming back and forth from here into like a little bit of a down dog. I wouldn't go into like an extreme shoulder position, but just going from hands and knees, press, maybe lift up a little bit just to get a little bit of that shoulder action, or pressing back into a little bit of a child's pose, and then back up to get the whole shoulder active and supported. So if that did not take care of things, your shoulder may be either inferior or posterior. Be sure to check out my other videos on those directions, and I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.